Hi, my name is Krishna Rudra and I'm going to present reciprocal trig ratios. There are four main definitions in this chapter. Reciprocal, which means two expressions that have a product of 1, for example 4 and 1 over 4. Cosecant ratio, which means the reciprocal of sine ratio. Secant ratio, which is the reciprocal of cosine ratio. And cotangent ratio, which is reciprocal of tangent ratio. The abbreviated form of cosecant is CSC. The abbreviated form of secant is SEC. And the abbreviated form of cotangent is COT. There are 6 main equations in this section. So the reciprocal trig ratios are 1 over the original. So cosecant ratio will equal 1 over sine. Secant will equal 1 over cos. And cotangent will equal 1 over tan. This is reversible. Sine is equal to 1 over cosecant. Cos is equal to 1 over secant. And tan is equal to 1 over cotangent. The key concepts in this section are that sine of theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. The cosine of theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. And the tangent of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. This can be remembered by SOHCAHTOA. So the reciprocal trig ratios of the originals should be flipped. This means that cosecant should equal hypotenuse over opposite. Secant should equal hypotenuse over adjacent. And cotangent should equal adjacent over opposite. Other key concepts are that cosecant is equal to hypotenuse over opposite, which means that 1 over hypotenuse over opposite should equal 1 over sine. This goes with same with secant and cotangent. Secant is hypotenuse over adjacent, which means that 1 over hypotenuse over adjacent should equal 1 over cos. And cotangent is equal to adjacent over opposite, which means that 1 over adjacent over opposite should equal 1 over tan. Now I have a few examples here. Number 1, find 6 trig ratios using a triangle. The triangle shown on the top right corner here has 3 side lengths of 3, 4, and 5, and angle theta shown here. Now, we know that sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, which means that sine theta is equal to 3 over 5. Cos theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, which means that is 4 over 5. And tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent, which means that it is 3 over 4. Now, the reciprocal trig ratios means that it is flipped. So, cosecant should equal 5 over 3, secant should equal 5 over 4, and cotangent should equal 4 over 3. The second example is to find the angle of the reciprocal ratio. So there are 2 examples given. Cotangent theta is equal to 5 over 16. Now we know that cotangent equals to 1 over tan. So we can conclude that tan theta is equal to 16 over 5. Now to find theta, take the inverse of tan and multiply it by 16 over 5, which should give you an approximate answer of 73 degrees. The second one, secant theta is equal to 5 over 2. Now, we know that secant is equal to 1 over cos, so we can conclude that cos theta should equal 2 over 5. Now, to find theta, take the inverse of cos and multiply by 2 over 5, which should give you an approximate answer of 66 degrees. The third and final example is to find 2 angles between 0 and 360 degrees that has a cosecant of negative 2. Now, since cosecant is equal to negative 2, we know that sine is equal to negative 1 over 2. To find theta, we have to take the inverse of sine and multiply it to 1 over 2, which gets us 30 degrees. Now 30 is our base number. That is our important number. We have to add or minus that from 180 or 360. So to get our 2 angles, we have to add 30 onto 180 degrees to get 210 degrees, which is one of our angles. Then you have to take 360 degrees and minus 30 degrees from that to give you 330 degrees. This is your second angle. So therefore, the 2 angles are 210 degrees and 330 degrees.